Hello there and welcome to this workshop. My name is Valentine and I'll be your instructor. In this workshop, we'll get started learning about the objectives of the session. After that, we'll get to talk about the theoretical concepts pertaining to speech to text concepts that we'll go through. And we'll also talk about why we would want to learn about those concepts. Later onwards, we will go through a practice session where we will implement those concepts that we have talked about in relation to speech to text. And the idea is that by the end of today, you should be able to create some application, whether it's just writing a script that performs speech to text conversion. Then towards the very end, we'll just talk about the next steps. It's important to note before we continue that this workshop will assume some knowledge again of Python programming. So if you are not sure or if it's your first workshop when it comes to working with Python, we may not recommend that you go through this workshop just like that. It would be important to just go through some fundamental workshop or course that would help you just be able to get started with Python before now application of now Python in the specified context. So without further ado, let's get started. By the end of today, we expected to have achieved these learning outcomes. We should be able to describe the applications of audio to text process or speech to text process. We should be able to use the Whisper model, which is one of those tools that we can use to perform speech to text conversion. We should also be able to evaluate the accuracy and efficiency of just the transcription results that we would get from the speech to text process. So starting off, what is speech to text? So this is a process that involves using the Python programming language. Well, not really the Python programming language, but you can use any tool. But in the context of speech to text conversion with Python, this process involves using the programming language Python and being able to convert some audio or some spoken words into written text. So it might be maybe you would use a tool that you've created using the Python programming language to go through audio for a meeting and convert the audio into the equivalent text, which helps a lot instead of just having someone to sit down and listen through all the mentioned text or the mentioned audio and write down whatever that will have been spoken. You can be able to use a tool like Python for such a use case. Python has many libraries and we'll get to learn about to work with just one of them. And again, this is just a workshop that's meant to, or a course that's meant to help you just start off working on projects of this kind. It's important that speech to text conversion, it's important for several reasons. One is accessibility. So in cases where you might have individuals or people with hearing impairments, who would be unable maybe to type due to maybe physical disabilities, then you can create applications that provide them with a means to communicate and interact with technology. In cases of productivity and efficiency, in cases where you'd want to improve these aspects within an organization. So for example, within meeting rooms, instead of having someone to sit throughout and simply listen and type in whatever that others are talking about, that person can also be included in the conversation without giving them a specific task, that specific task of just writing down what has been happening. So in such situations, you can be able to use speech to text conversion applications. In cases, again, where you might want to quickly do a particular work-related task, as maybe draft emails, you could also use technologies which have been, which perform this process to just be able to perform those repetitive tasks that you might have in mind. Inclusivity and diversity in some situations where where there are people talking in multiple languages, and there's a need of communication between people. You can use speech to text conversion applications that use or implement this process using programming languages. You can use those tools to be able to perform the desired translation that one might need. So these are just a few of the applications, or not really applications, a few of the reasons why one might want to perform speech to text conversion. But there are many other applications which will just list out, and some of them would be, in some situations, maybe within the legal industry, and you have, or the legal sector, and you have court reporting happening, and a lot of information would be communicated verbally. There's a need for someone, or there would be a need for someone, of course, to transcribe the court proceedings, but one can use tools in relation to speech to text conversion, where you could transcribe the court proceedings or depositions or legal consultations in an automated way, using a tool like what we're going to learn. That's the Whisper model, and as a result, be able to provide accurate and timely records. So it's a tool that you would have to create, by the way, in order to make use of or in order to be able to implement in such a situation. In customer service, you could automate transcription of customer calls in order to ensure that you're able to identify common issues quickly and also improve just service quality. In some situations, the same issues could be raised over and over, but the staff that might be given that particular role, if there are no systems to be able to ensure that the staff are able to highlight those issues relayed by the customers, then organization can miss out on addressing those issues. So coming in, speech to text solutions can come in handy in such situations. Lecture transcription in cases where students are undertaking lectures or seminars, or there is a need for such kinds of technology to just make it easier for students to focus on learning the concepts that have been relayed, as opposed to just taking notes. So it just helps on the learning and on the understanding end of the learning process. Student support, so students with disabilities can also benefit from real-time transcription services. Content creation, so journalists, writers can also be able to dictate their articles, scripts, which helps in just speeding up the writing process. So if they've done a recording somewhere for by a particular politician or something of that sort, or particular party that is concerned, or entity that is concerned with the matter that they are investigating, as journalists, they can easily go through or summarize or be able to get the information that they need from the audio files that they might be having. And lastly, interview transcriptions. If in the case where there are so many interviews, one of the ways that speech to text conversion solutions or speech to text solutions would come in handy is that they would help ensure accurate records, and also help in also decision making. If you use a model, a speech to text model, which is what we are going to be learning how to work with, to transcribe text, then you can also use the results of that and pass it through an intelligent model, one of those large language models, to be able to further analyze the data that you want and effectively get to the desired result. So those are just a few applications. There are many. These are just some that we would find useful. We would think that they could help you in understanding how speech to text solutions can be beneficial to different parties concerned. And so you should be in a position to know now why we are learning this tool. All right, so in terms of a workflow, so normally when it comes to creating speech to text solutions, we would first of all capture the audio that we want to use. It could be that we can use microphones, but again, the idea is that first you would need to capture the audio, store it somewhere in some sort of file, using some sort of file format. It could be MP3, it could be maybe .AAC, or it could be just a supported a popular or standard file. Normally MP3 works. So first of all, you capture the audio, store it somewhere. Then you use pre-processing techniques such as maybe noise reduction algorithms to be able to improve the quality of the audio, just to ensure there's clarity in the content that is within those particular files that you have. So if there's any noise, that will be trimmed out. Once you've done that, the next thing that you would need to do is to select a speech to text service. Could be a model that is based on based on maybe accuracy. These are just evaluation criteria that you might have. If you have a speech to text service, you need to understand how accurate it would be. So that's one of the criteria. Another criteria would be cost, as well as also supported languages, because sometimes you may not have a service that is able to, a speech to text service that is able to transcribe maybe could be from an indigenous language to English, because those models or those services, those models, the tools used haven't been trained enough on the indigenous language. So in such situations, again, that can also be a criteria. And there are many tools that you can use. Our focus for today will just be one. Hopefully in the future, as demand grows on developing such solutions, then we can look towards creating tutorials that cover everything that could be concerning the specific tool. After that, you do post pre-processing, so you can apply text cleaning to the text that has been generated using by that model or that service. So to just be able to ensure that the text is in the right format. And then one would save the transcribed text into a database for further use. It could be that one might want to use that text for reports generation, or it could be that they might want to use it for maybe scripts. Maybe it's something that you could also want maybe to even create some more content, maybe stories out of it, etc. Then automation, then the last step would just entail just automating the whole process such that you're able to capture the audio as well as perform pre-processing, speech to text conversion, post pre-processing in an automated way, so that you don't have to, you don't need someone to just performing that process manually. So you can use tools like Cron to create what are called cron jobs to be able to automate that process, or to just run the file that you have already written in a specific language. In this case, would be Python. So that's usually the entire process. Our focus for today will just be on the speech to text conversion stage. That's the third step. We already have prepared some files that we can use to learn, that we can use for this particular process. So we wouldn't perform the data collection bit, but you could always do the same thing if you have maybe a specific use case. Speech pre-process or even pre-processing, we won't also do that. We won't apply the different techniques for pre-processing data that has some audio nature. So our focus will be on handling just data that has already been prepared. But again, in some situations, you might find that the data that you have may still be not that very best. This is also something else. When we do data cleaning, normally our assumption is that we are working with a numerical or even to an extent textual data, but most cases it's really numerical data. And that is, pre-processing it's also a whole of another workshop. If you are to do audio pre-processing, that is something that I don't know whether one would want to dive into preparing such courses at the moment. It's because of the demand. There isn't so much demand on that. But yeah, so that's what we are going to be focusing on. And also a bit of some post pre-processing. We'll share some code on how to perform post pre-processing, but the rest of these stages, aside from 3 and 4, we won't be focusing on them. All right, the services or the models that are popular for speech to text conversion are the ones that you see here. We'll be using the OpenAI Whisper. This tool is it's paid for because of some optimization that happens, but the model itself, you can find an open source model or version of the OpenAI Whisper model for speech to text. But our focus will be using on the paid one, which you can find on the OpenAI, which is provided by OpenAI. This is also a continuation of the OpenAI workshops that we already have. We've done one on now text to speech. This now workshop just involves speech to text. And we've also done on working with one of those popular models, like GPT-4o, and many others. So again, this also workshop, again, we'll have to repeat when, of course, we'll have to redo another workshop, still on the same, when a new tool or a new Whisper model comes out. If there's good demand for this particular course, it just tells us, if you say yes, you actually love this experience, you'd want to see such, just hitting the like button always helps us to just get to know in terms of feedback. All right, so at this particular point, go to the description section, click on the link that you find there. That should take you to the resources, the practice resources. It should take you to this particular page. And once you get here, click on the sample practice resource, which should redirect you to this particular page. And the first thing that we need to do is to save a copy of this notebook. So go to File, then save a copy in Drive to have a copy of this notebook, and then we should be good to go. All right. So once we have done that, the next thing that we need to do is you can pause the video, by the way. Pause the video first, do that, then we can continue. I'll be using the practice notebook. This has all the challenges, but the sample doesn't have all the challenges. So I'll be using this for the workshop. And you don't need to do what I'm doing. Just save a copy and Drive, then we can continue. All right, now we can continue together. So let's connect this notebook to Google servers on the far right by clicking on connect. There's not share, just connecting. There's a button that's here that says connect. Click on that, then we should be good to go. It will connect. It will take a few seconds to connect. Once it's done, we'll now go through the prerequisites. So to work with the Whisper model for speech to text, we first need to install the OpenAI library. So click on the first code cell, and we install that library using pip, the package manager, install OpenAI. Then once that has happened, the next thing that we need to do is to import so here we've installed it, so we need to import it, and then we need to set our API key. So this is the API key that I have, but you can also find the API key by visiting the OpenAI platform. I'll share the link as well to that just below the practice resource. So you can click there, go to OpenAI, create an account. And I would highly advise that you just create an account. Initially, I think sometimes they give you $5, depends on where you're located. So they give you $5 as credits for that account, and you can use it for learning. We don't need a lot. Even for transcribing, transcribing just means converting audio to text. They charge per minute, and I think 0.0002 per minute dollars. So it's not a lot. So it should be okay. So you won't find this API key. I'll have deleted it during when you are going through this workshop. You need to create your own. I'll have deleted this one. I wouldn't want to get my account suspended because of sharing my keys. I had some notification some time back. So yeah, so yes, for the love of just being able to learn, just can consider doing that. All right, let's run this. So we set our API key and we pass it to the OpenAI object that we've created here. So we used this class to create an object, and we set the API key, and voila, we're good to go. The next thing that we need to do is to download the audio files for this notebook, the ones that we're going to use. So we already have created audio files, so it will redirect us to this page. Click on that and it's going to download. It's now going to download. So I'll go behind the scenes. So in my computer, you won't be able to see what I'm doing. So you can just go to your downloads folder in your computer and then extract the download that that we are expecting. So the extraction process might take a few seconds. So it's not that big. It's about 30 megabytes. And yeah, so give it a few seconds before now continuing. So let me see how far mine has gotten to. Okay, I think my internet is a bit slow. Yes, so let's do that as we do that. Yeah, so let's do that. If it's taking a bit slow, I can still continue and then we can resume. So yeah, so as it continues, I'll upload those files in a few. So let me just continue in this step. So I think, and I'll upload them on the far end. All right, so let's go through this first step, the first section. So transcribing audio to English. So how we are able to transcribe audio. So transcribe just means converting audio to text. How we can be able to do that is to first of all open or get the file that we want to transcribe. So that is this particular file, that's English legal transcript. This contains just some legal audio. It could be proceedings. I think it's proceedings, by the way. These are just dummy files that I've found somewhere on the internet, and some of them are even from YouTube. So we open this file using the open function, the built-in open function, and we store it inside audio file. And then later we create a new variable and we assign it this outcome of this particular function, that the create function that we have from transcriptions. So we set inside the create function the model that we want to use, which is Whisper. Whisper 1. Whisper 1 is the one it's a Whisper model. And then we pass the audio file. So this file that we want to transcribe, it's the one that we have here. Then once we have done this, will call the model and it will store it in transcription, and then we can print out the results. And initially when we are printing out the results, the way we are showing here, we will get an object as the output. An object would by an object I mean in Python we usually have objects. You won't get the exact text. The text, to be able to extract the text from the object, we would need to specify the attribute text, as you can see here, transcription.text. So that's what's happening. So I'm just going to wait for this to download, then we can continue. And yeah, I think it should be done. Yep. So we should be good to go. Let me just extract it. So you can pause the video, extract the data, and then once you have extracted it, just have a look at what I'm going to do so that we are on the same page. So let me just extract it here, speech to text. Then on the far left here, you click on files, then we are going to upload those files. I'm just going to click on this icon over here. So once you've clicked this files icon, then click on this icon, then select. You can press, you can navigate to downloads, then use the control button. So you just click it once to multi-select, So you press the control button, then you click the files that you want, then you just say open. You're not going to be able to see my screen, my computer, the downloads window, because I have not enabled that. So that will give us some time. It will just ensure that we are able to upload. So that will just upload everything. The other option would have been to drag and drop those files onto this section that you see on the far left. It's going to take a few seconds to, again, depending on the speed of your internet. So you can pause the video, do that, and then we can continue, because we need the files for the work that we need. So pause the video and then we can continue. All right, so mine is still continuing to upload. So, but I'll work with what I have. Normally, what happens is that you would need to ensure that your file is not bigger than 25 megabytes. If it is, then you would need to ensure that you cut it, but you need to cut it at places where, say, for example, you have a sentence finishing. So where the sentence finishes, that's where you can be able to cut the audio file. Because if you cut the audio file where the sentence is, where it's in the middle of the sentence, then the model itself won't be able to know much about the context. So it's important that you do that. So let's continue. So we're going to transcribe this English Legal transcript. So this is the one that we have. Actually, the MP3 one. So this is English Legal transcript. Actually, it's on MP4. So by the way, I had forgotten to also mention that we need there are different types, supported types. So there's what is supported is what's that one called? There's MP3, there's MP4, which is a video format. We can still be able to transcribe the text from that. And there are also other various files. That's why you see also MP4 on the far left. It means you can also be able to transcribe those folders, those records, those files, not only just audio files, but also video files, using now the Whisper model. And that's what we're going to be using. I think I had not uploaded the English transcription or the English data set. So that's what I want to do quickly. That way we're all on the same page. I'll update that to the data set. So you actually have the MP3 file. It's only that for me, I had forgotten to do that. So I'll quickly do that and upload it. So let's just give me a second, but you can still be uploading yours as I do this. All right. Okay, so I should have it. So where is it? Video transcript, audio. I should have, no, that's the WAV. Sorry, I have uploaded the wrong one. So cancel that. Let me upload now the correct one that I need. So yeah. So yeah, you'll actually find this file, English Legal transcript, once you've extracted it within that file. So don't worry much about that. So once it has uploaded, once everything has uploaded, then we can continue. So you should see it over here. So it's the one that's here. So yeah, so let's run this. And we are going to transcribe, so it to text and print out the text below. So this is what we are getting, an object, but to be able to, and an object inside it, you have this attribute text, tells us what I'm saying is that the appeal of a settlement, and you can also open the file locally to just listen to it using maybe VLC or any other audio software. But to get the text itself, we can just reference the attribute as shown here. So what I'm trying to say is that the appeal, etc. All right, that's good. Pause the video and then work on the challenge that we have here. So there's a challenge that you'll get, I think, for sample. Is there a sample? that I included. No, I'll actually also add this challenge in a few. All right, pause the video, then work on the challenge. Let me add it. Awesome. So the next thing that we are going to do is to go through now setting a response format. So here, as you can see, we are getting the actual, we're not getting the text directly, but we can be able to set that using now another parameter that's called response. But before response format, but before we do that, let's just learn how to just let's reorganize our code so that we can make it a bit more reusable. So we'll use a function. So in this case, we're going to reorganize our code. So we have this function called transcribe that we've created, and it will take in the file name such that whenever we want to use this function, we'll just call it, and then we'll pass a file name that we have. And then inside it, we have the code that we're going to use. It's just similar code that we have here that we're going to use for transcription. And we return now the printed transcription.txt. So we'll return what's here. Yeah, so, and that's what is going to be printed out. So if I run this, I should be able to see the transcribe function called, and it's going to print out the same text that we had here. What I'm trying to say is what now, once we have been able to have this, we can now decide also to maybe set the response format. So instead of getting an object here, we are saying transcription.txt. So instead of saying transcription.txt, we can decide to get it direct. This is just a shortcut of just being able to reference now to get just the texts that we want. We don't want the object to be returned. So we can simply just use this parameter. So we can say response format equals to text. So whenever we run this and call the transcribe function, we'll actually get the text itself instead of just saying transcription.txt. We'll just get the text itself. And we can also get, again, if you wanted, by default, we would normally get the object that we had. So this is the object that we had, or the class, or the object that we have. All right. We don't have a challenge for this, but we have a challenge for the next one. So let's move on. So there are many supported file types for transcription. So we can work with MP3, MP4, MPG, MPGA, and MVA, WAV, and WebM. So assuming that we would want maybe to transcribe an MP file, so MP4 file, so which could be in a video format. So we call the function transcribe. So we are going to use just this function. We'll call it, and we pass the name of our file, MP4. This is now MP4. The previous one was MP3. So MP4 is what we have on the far left of our screen, which you can see over here. So, and you can also open it locally if you want, but now for this case, we're just going to have it here and run this, and we should be able to get now our transcription or the respective text for that. So it should be returned. So, yep. All right, pause the video and then work on the challenge. Transcribe audio. So we can also be able to transcribe just speech or audio to other supported languages. This is just English, but we might want maybe to get some audio file that is in French and transcribe it to again French, or from Chinese to Chinese text, etc. We can still use Whisper for that. So let's learn how to do that. So it's not that hard. We would simply just have the audio itself, and automatically the model itself would determine the language and be able to give us the equivalent text, the language, the text that will be for that particular language. So for example, this is Dutch News MP4 file. So if we run this and we preview it, we'll get now Dutch translation for that. Yeah, so that's what happens if it's Chinese, which we have. You can also be able to get Chinese as well. All right, pause the video and then work on the challenge. Translating audio to text to English. So sometimes, so here we've been transcribing, so getting audio data into the respective text data, but we can decide to translate some audio. So instead of doing what we have done here, we want to hear what we are doing here. We are just transcribing into the respective language, but we might want to transcribe and translate to English. So we can use still the Whisper model for that. But now we use a different function. So here we have translation dot create, but the previous ones for transcription, we had transcriptions create. So we would define just a function just as we would, but now a different function, not transcribe, as we had earlier. Here we had transcribe. Here we're going to have translate, and we pass just the file name that that we want. So the file name of the file that we want to translate. So we want to translate this one, Dutch news, into English. By default, it usually works with English. So translate usually just works by default to English. But you can be, so that's the only supported language by OpenAI by default. But again, you can use multiple models to convert maybe the translation that has been given. So you would, let's say, get Dutch news in our case here, then convert it to English. Then from English, still we can use another model like GPT-4o to now convert the text to the language that we want, and we can still now get the output and reconvert it now to maybe an audio or something of that sort if we want. So let's see how we can be able to do this. So we can translate this audio Dutch to English. So these are the other supported languages. So yeah, so this is the translation from the Dutch news file. If you listen to it, you'll hear Dutch if you open it locally. So this is a story about a man who has a driver's license. Right, pause the video and work on the challenge. I believe the challenge has a Chinese example. Translating audio to text to other languages. So assuming that here we have translated to English, if we want to translate to maybe French or German or whatever language, we can use two models. So the first one we would use to translate the audio to English. So we use the Whisper model. It's still the same function that we had earlier. So we define a translation function for that. And then once we have been able to translate translate the text to English, we can take that English equivalent, that text and then convert it to maybe a language that we want. Like for example, here we want to translate it to Swahili, then we can do that. So we create a function to interact with that other model. Here we're going to use the completions endpoint. So create completions.create, and we set the model to be GPT-4 and some other parameters. We have a workshop on how to work with GPT-4, so you can check that out. Then we pass our prompt. The prompt that we're going to tell or to pass to this would contain the outputs here, as well as some instructions on what to do. So we define GPT-4o function, and then set in the next code cell the prompt. So in this prompt, we're also going to say translate the following Dutch text, which we are going to provide to Swahili. So what we want to do is to translate, and we concatenate. So we are joining this string with the string that will come from the translate functions. The translate function will return some text, but we convert it into a string format, and then combine it with this string. So it will be a prompt that will contain this string plus another string, which will be now the one that we had here. This is a story about a man, etc. And this is actually what we are doing. We're actually doing post-processing. We are telling this other model to do something with this text. And we run this, and we should be able to call GPT-4o, and we should be able to get a translation for that particular text that we want. And that would be what we would want. So what we should get as an output would be the translation to Swahili. But you can, again, use the language that you are conversant with. It could be French, it could be German, it could be Spanish, it could be Hindi, etc. And you will be able to see the output here. So like this is Swahili. Hii ni hadithi kuhusu mwanamume ambaye ana leseni ya udereva. So this will be equivalent. This text will be equivalent to this particular text that we see here. This is a story about a man. So hii ni hadithi kuhusu mwanamume ambaye ana leseni ya udereva. So it's just the same. But again, you could also ask GPT-4o to ensure that the text is grammatically correct. Then yeah, that's it. And you can pause the video, then work on the challenge, and we'll talk about the next steps. All right, so once you've finished this, the next step is just to work on just different projects in relation to speech to text. There are quite a large number of them. We'll be posting a few in the next few days. So yes, just to be conversant, because when you're a data analyst or data scientist, you would want to just be conversant with just different technologies when it comes to working on different kinds of problems. So just work with you can work with OpenAI model, and it's far much more accurate. It's one of the reasons why we decided to choose this over other tools. But again, you can still use other tools, but the idea in terms of implementation won't be far off from this. The only difference might be maybe implementation, just slight implementation. But if you have that documentation, you can always go through that and and sort it out. So yeah, so that's it with regards to this learning experience. If you loved this learning experience and you found it valuable, please give it a thumbs up. It just tells us that we're doing something good. And if you'd want to be informed when we post such future courses, be sure to subscribe, and see you in the next video or course. Bye bye.